Welcome back. In this tutorial, we'll be talking about the CSS margin. Okay, we're talking about the CSS margin. So before we go forward, let's see what a CSS margin is. All right. Now, CSS margin is used to create space around element outside of any defined border. So what CSS margin usually does is used to create space. Use it to create space around element outside outside any defined border. And CSS properties for specifying CSS has properties for specifying the margin for each side of an element, and these are the margin top, the margin right, the margin bottom, and the margin left. Okay, so now what we are going to do now is since we say the CSS margin properties sets the size of white space. We all know what white space is. CSS margin properties sets the size of the white space outside the border. Okay, so now with CSS we have full control over the margin. There are with CSS, right? We have full control over the margin. Okay, there are different types of CSS properties as listed on the screen. We have the top, we have the different type of CSS properties for specifying margin. We have the top, the right, the bottom, and the left. All right, so now we have the CSS margin. Okay, sorry. Now still on the CSS margin, we have the CSS margin individual sites. All right, CSS margin individual side, we still have which are still listed on the screen, which is the margin top, the right, the bottom, and the left. Okay, now all margin property have some value, which is one. We have the first value is the auto value, right? That is the browser calculates the margin by itself. That is the auto value. Okay, now the length, like we specifies a margin in pixels. This is when we the programmer or the developer specifies the margin in pixels, pt or cm, right? Now we have the percent specifies a margin in percentage. Okay, we specify the margin in percentage of the width of the containing element. All right, and we have inherit specifies the margin that should be inherited from the parent element. Okay, so now let's go into let's try an example to see how all this will look. Okay, so we're still going to use our CSS border example. We add some margin to it. All right. Okay, now we are back to our text editor where we styled our CSS border. Now we are going to add the CSS margin to each of this p tag. All right, so now adding margin to each of the p tag, now we have okay, let's say we add to this the first p tag. Let's say we have a margin top to be, let's say we have a margin top to be 100 pixels. All right, so we have a margin top to be 100 pixels. Let's see how that looks. Let's refresh. Okay, now you see how it looks. If you notice, okay, let's go back and let me wipe this out so that you see how it is, how the text display without the margin. Okay, now this is how the text displays without the margin, right? But since we added the margin top to be 100 pixels, margin top to be 100 pixels. All right, so now let's see how this looks. Now we can see, you can see the margin. Now the margin it made at the top, it made the margin at the top, right? And it gives all the p a margin top of 100 pixels. Okay, it gives all the p tag a margin top of 100 pixels. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do, let's try margin bottom. Let's try margin bottom. And if you notice, I'm only styling just one page and it's affecting the rest, all because they have the same element. Okay, even though the rest are having class, so it's affecting the rest because it has the same element. So let's see if that applies to margin bottom of 100 pixels as well. Okay, now you see it affects everything. You see we have the margin bottom from here to here, right, to be 100 pixels, and the margin top from here. The reason why this place is wider than here is like, remember, at first I set all the p to be so that the margin top will be 100 pixels, right? And now the reason why this one here is larger than this is because this also has a top. You understand? This blue border, this right up with the blue border has a top, and this right up with the yellow border has a bottom. So it's like adding the two together. That is why you see that this space here is wider than the one up. All right, okay, so now that is just it. Okay, so now let's add the margin left. Let's add the margin left. The margin left to be let's say we have 150 pixels. Okay, so let's see how this looks. Now you see how it moves from this edge of the screen. Okay, you see how it moves from the edge of the screen, right? Okay, so let's set the margin right. Margin right to be 80 pixels. Okay, now you see it. This is how your margin works. Okay, exactly. This is our margin left of 150 pixels, and this is our margin right of 80 pixels, and we have the margin top to be 100 pixels and the margin bottom to be 100 pixels. So now with this, you all know how the margin works. Okay, so I think that will be all for margin. By the next tutorial, we'll be talking about the CSS padding. See you there. See you in the next tutorial. Bye.